I would say that if the entire company had those kinds of loan officers, if every loan officer were that, we'd have the greatest mortgage company in the United States.
In the history of mankind.
Right. So here's the deal. Is that real? The answer is it absolutely could be. And do those 10 referrals all have to come from realtors? The answer is no. Because the reality is realtors get people at the very beginning of the food chain or at the very end. And like the conversion could be the lowest. The realtor conversion rate on my lead tracker for as long as I've been in the business has been the lowest conversion rate, with the exception of some realtors. And you all have that realtor that like they call and say, hey, Sam, call Benton, and you know this is a real deal. Yeah, I went to church with Benton. I sold his house to him 6 years ago. He and his wife want to move.
Yeah.
There you go, Benton. Little church reference. I went to Temple. If it was from Sam, I went to Temple with him. Guy's a great guy. His dad owns a liquor store. His mom. Sorry, Sam. Here's my point. 10 leads, 10 referrals. If you call on realtors, great. If you call on financial planners, great. If you went after HR departments, great. If you went after company direct, great. If you started door knocking your neighborhood, great. If you just called all your past clients and said, I've been a miserable loan officer because I haven't checked in with you. All I've been doing for years is just scraping calls and doing refis and quoting people rates as fast as I can, but I've changed. I've decided to be a consultant, and I just simply want to check in and say hi and ask you, would you go through a little planning with me, your real estate and mortgage planning guide for the next 5 years? And I'll ask you a bunch of questions, and it may or may not be helpful, but if it is, I'm glad I made the call. Hell yeah, David. I didn't even know you were still in the business. You made that refi in 2021 so easy. I talked to you for 4 minutes, and then I talked to some lady named Sheila, your processor, just before closing. It was awesome. That rate and term refi where I went from 5 to 3. Like, you were amazing.
It was all me.
But here's the point. The work, and then we're going to go to the next person. The work is, do you want to consult and help people and build people's businesses, or are you a loan officer leech? Hi, this is Jesse. Just checking in. Just wanted to see what you were up to, Mrs. Realtor. Just wanted to see if you had a lead for me. Jesse, I'm just picking on you. How about you? You're up next. What is your thing you want to do in 24 that you want to like rip the cover off and change?
So we just got into a new market, Amy and I, and so I really want to get in there in that office and like be a member of the office versus just being someone they call when there's a problem. Like I just want to be in
what
there.
Market are you in? What city? What town?
And Warner Robins is like
Georgia,
military base there.
Nice. So you got a lot of VA clients?
Hoping to. I've not done a lot. Amy's done a lot in the past.
Got it. So how many agents are there?
138.
So what is it that you want to do different to get in and kind of be known?
Well, like, I mean, for one, I'm like, we're trying to get an office in there, like be in their office to be present with them.
Okay.
And just be down there more often. But the problem that I'm running into is that the agents aren't in the office. So like, I don't live there. I live an hour away. So I need to connect with them more than just the monthly team meetings, I guess is what I'm getting at.
How do you propose to do that to be different? What do you want to do?
I mean, well, I've been following like I don't remember what program or what thing it came in, but like sending them emails, following them on Facebook, liking them on LinkedIn or all those things, trying to go to things that they go in and be interested in things that they're interested in. I mean, I don't really have right now it's to get in the office and just to be there and be present. And I went yesterday and talked to the broker and team lead. And so I think it's important to show up like this week, like last week, it's a slow week, like just show up, be the one that shows up, even if not everyone's not there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the funny part, how long have you been in mortgages?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. So true story, 1994, late 94. I hated New York City. I worked in the World Trade Center. I left, went home. My cousin was in the mortgage business. I got a job. Basically, they were paying me $400 a month on a draw. And my cousin, when I started, he goes, hey, here's what we do. We drop off rate sheets at real estate offices. So here's a territory in Washington, D.C. and Old Town Alexandria. Let's just get 15 offices for you. And you're going to milk route those offices on Monday and Thursday and drop off rate sheets. And then you're going to do open houses on Sunday with any of the agents that you meet. And here's your job. Like when someone sneezes on you, thank them, write them a handwritten thank you note with your card. And on your rate sheet, don't just drop them off in the box. Let's use a marker and write, hey, Sam, missed you. Here's the rates for today. Call me with any questions. And then we eventually would write little motivational quotes on the half-folded legal piece of paper rate sheet that we cut our rates, because rates were at 8.5, but we told everybody our rates were at 8. And he goes, oh yeah, we don't ever print our real rates on a rate sheet. Any of you ever dropped off rate sheets at realtor offices? Never? This is what the business was in 1995.
What's a rate sheet?
A rate sheet? Oh my God. And I will have to pull out one of my old computers and call my cousin Edwin, who's a financial planner, and say, dude, can you send me a rate sheet? So what it was.
Is this an old Macintosh?
At the top, yeah. At the top, you would put your name and you would put your company. And then in a big, like, think of it, legal piece of paper. And then in the next big like box that would be essentially from an inch down to almost the bottom, you would put conventional 30-year fixed and then put rates and points and then FHA, VA. And then what you started to do was like mix in your products like, oh, specialty. We had a product called the Slam Dunk Loan for Washington, D.C. And it was like, DC CRA program. And then it was literally like Kevin Conlon sends us shit. We would redo it, put it on a legal piece of paper, and then you go out to real estate offices and they have mailboxes. Back in the day, they had centralized phone systems, and then they had these, triple wide mailboxes that would go all the way to the ceiling, and it would have everybody's name on the mailbox, and you'd put a rate sheet in. Or if you were like risky, you'd go literally around to the desks and the offices and put rate sheets on their desks. Now, part of that skill, Jesse, was getting the front desk lady to like you. And some offices were closed, so you'd have to go in the back door and act like you had an appointment and then start walking around. And then it was like a bar. If the bouncer got a hold of you, they'd escort your ass out of there. And I just learned my offices were uppity offices. I always wore a suit and a tie. Look at this garb. I wore a suit and a tie, Jesse, and cufflinks 4 days a week. Friday, I took a tie off. Now, I was in Washington, D.C. It was a snooty ass market. Here's my point.
You're like Jake Gyllenhaal and Love and Other Drugs. Get your read sheets where they need to be.
Yeah. Here's the deal. When you did that and you started to meet people and they started to see you, all these programs act like they're genius programs, like the Core. I love all these coaches. I mean, dude, they're super successful people, right? But the basic shit, Jesse, of being present, showing up, and being predictable and having something of value to talk about is 90% of the fucking business.
It really hasn't changed. You can't do it if you don't show up.
Well, here's the deal. We called it a milk route. Like, you're the milk lady. You're showing up with the milk. And here was the deal. You never forget the feeling of when you walk in as a loan officer with your rate sheets and the realtors scatter. They're like cockroaches, and they see Jesse coming. Hi. Hey, everybody. Jesse's here with her rate sheets. They run, Jesse. And the funny part is, I got so used to that I love that. I was like, oh my God, I'm making them uncomfortable. And the key was, how do you transition? Because that first person that doesn't want to make contact with you, oh my God, I'm busy. What do you want, Jesse? You're like, oh, I don't want shit. I just, had this cool whatever. And maybe it strikes up a conversation, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of a deal. Or they're like, hey, I should have known that last week because I had a lead. And you're like, well, hell, can I reach out to them and see if I can, on your behalf, let them know about the product? Yeah, do that. Deals happen, right? Now, remember this. Back to my 10 leads. Going into real estate offices in the trenches, predictably showing up with something of value to get a lead, to then begin a relationship that's all based on performance and how well you're doing is a long path, and it is a motherfucker. By the way, rated R call. It's a motherfucker. And I remember the days where, Jesse, I was in 130, Long and Foster, Weichert, McInerney. I could go through all these little boutique realtors. I remember my milk route. I remember where I parked. And then like one realtor, like, that client said you didn't call him back. And then this feeling of like, oh shit, this entire real estate office with this one shithead realtor is going to ruin my entire reputation over some shitty lead. So get ready when you're doing this to understand that the stakes on everything are very high. A lot of pressure being a realtor-only loan officer in one office. A lot of pressure. I would recommend MMI every realtor, see who's doing what, and pick your battles. Because you can't, Jessie isn't going to appeal to 130 realtors. She is going to appeal to about 6 realtors. So find the 6, fall in love with them, and make sure, and understand this, realtor fidelity is short-lived. My boy Aaron, who's been with me 22 years, is the only human on the planet that has realtor relationships that last 10 to 20 years. Aaron, how do you do it?
It ain't easy. I talked to a 19-year one last night. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, and you used to always say it's because what was your one line about being, you had the funniest line.
Oh, like something about 50 and frumpy or harmless or whatever.
Yeah, I'm harmless and frumpy. Yeah. The bottom line is,
which I'm not, by the way. I'm not.
Yeah, you're just a machine. Like, you're on that treadmill every day. He used to be a finger model. You got to show him your hands. His hands were beautiful.
I can't do that right now. They're covered in paint.
They're covered in paint. He's a hand model. We used to joke that his hands were beautiful, and that if anybody touched them, like he had an insurance policy on his hands because he was a hand model. And somebody believed us once in a meeting. It was hilarious. You do have beautiful hands.
Thank you.
So, Jesse, I love that you have the target. I think you have to think about all the different ways to be present. And, I'm not against, if it's an hour away, a fun just check-in phone call, like find out their listings, see what their listings are, and, like do a little homework on, their inventory, and then see. The key is like, whatever you're calling them about, is it going to help their business or be of interest to them? and not 99 times out of 100, our stupid products that suck in comparison to some credit union that has a giveaway product, or some big lender owned by a billionaire who wants to spend $10 million of his own money to put creative product in his loan officer's pockets that eventually runs out, you're not going to have. Why? Because you're at Mutual of Omaha Mortgage. We don't have what our competitors have. Sam, stop putting your fist in your face. By the way, move companies and it's the same thing. Oh my God, I switched. I went to guaranteed rate. Guess what? We don't have that cool product anymore. What do we have? What everybody else has. So if loan officers are pushing too much product, don't get jealous. Just understand that that's super short-lived, and it's a very short rope that loan officer hangs themselves with, because ultimately, product pushing loan officers, any product that's a narrow product, guess why it ends? It doesn't perform. The lender that came up with it goes, we've just screwed ourselves with this zero down construction loan. Why? Because we've got cost overruns on 11 of the deals and we're doing 100% loan to value. By the way, that used to be out there, 100% LTV construction loans. So pick what feels best to you and be very consistent with it. Consistency with realtors, I think, wins out over anything. And ultimately, you challenging them. There's a great book, you challenge them. The friends, they solve their problems. But getting somewhere when you're being friendly with realtors, but I tend to think and see that becomes problematic over time because it's a friendship, it's not a business relationship. David, what are you working on? What's your struggle?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have no idea what you just said. You were in and out.
Oh shit. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I said, what are you working on? What's your thing?
What am I working on right now?
Yeah, we're just lobbing out year-end goals or things that you want to do, you're excited about executing. Benton was his studio. Jesse was
Yeah,
real
that's the
estate
studio
office.
thing that's an awesome idea. I know Cross Country does that here in Cleveland. They've got that they've got a whole setup, and they promote the shit out of that. It will be a huge thing for you.
We're gonna try. So what do you want to work on?
It's another shiny object. You know, it's good. I think it's a good investment though. As far as me, right now I'm trying to get into a new market. My struggle is just trying to, connect with people that I don't necessarily know in a new market and expanding from there. So that's my current challenge on my plate.
What's your plan to solve it?
Well, a number of things. One,
David, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Did I just go on, or was I?
No. You said a number of things. What are the number of things?
Well, I was just saying everything takes time. So, you talk to, hey, Brendan, let's get together and talk. Sure, I'm free in 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks comes by, and then you meet them, and before you know it, two months have gone by, and you're just kind of nurturing that relationship. So I don't know how you shorten that cycle. That's the struggle I have, is trying to.
So good, we're getting somewhere. So you want how do you condense? So.
And I know some people you can't do that with, but.
No. What would you say would be if you could paint an ideal picture, what would it look like to shorten that cycle for you?
Hey, I'm David. Give me a loan.
There you. All right. Let's say that that's not realistic.
World-class sprint time.
Okay. If there was another way to shorten the cycle that wasn't fake, what
Right.
is, pretend this call isn't happening and you're all of a sudden in an hour going to meet with a realtor.
You know, it goes to like the rate sheet thing. Like, you know, it's one thing if you're friends with an agent or a referral partner, right? And you can talk to them about the Browns or whatever. You know, you can talk about a million different things. But when it's someone that you don't have that close relationship, or you may not even know them at all, what do you have to offer other than here's my rate sheet bullshit, you know, that doesn't work, because
Right.
they don't want to hear about it anyway.
Well, I think it always boils down to this, and everybody does it a little different. But if you're not going to talk about, like, the elephant in the room is always your products, what makes you different, and why should I refer you? Right? That's the elephant in the room. Now, do they even care? Or are you the third loan officer that they've met with this week and they don't even give a shit? But I would say that, like, that would be the first differentiator. Like, think of it like business chemistry and like dating. Why should they go on date number 2 with you and you're on date number 1?
Right.
So, you know, if anybody's listening, if you don't have something about your like products or your process that's unique or different, that's appealing, then you're strike one on that. I would always suggest it's about your process and how you work with clients so that those clients are more readily available to make an offer. I would suggest Smart Start. I would suggest explaining why that works and why other loan officers don't do it. And, you know, the only way that they would be able to understand it would be to come to your office to witness it if you knew how to do it. So that's what I teach my guys, is do that.
Right.
So that meeting number 2 is in your office. Now, let's say you don't have that. Then the only other elephant in the room is their business and their struggle. Michael Anthony 101. Hey, what's your biggest struggle right now in your business? That's Michael Anthony.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I typically go with, exactly, because they don't want to hear about how great I am. What a great product. They don't really care. The average agent, you know, when are you closing? That's all they care about.
And his isn't like, he doesn't start with that. He's like, hey, what are you seeing in Atlanta going on right now? And then, like, so what is your biggest challenge? It's not struggle. And then if they say something, listing inventory, you know, trying to get deals closed, you know, just appraisals coming in low. So his whole thing is like, whatever it is, it's a known thing. Then your ability to, like, have a conversation around it, probe a little bit more, you know, eventually get to, well, you know, what are you seeing to overcome that? Oh, well, let me tell you about my Dewey Decimal appraisal system and how great my bullshit is, right? Like, your brain is thinking, how do I overcome this to eventually tell them something that I can do to solve it, right? I mean, isn't that so now you're at the 30-minute mark of the meeting.
Right.
Now what? Because, by the way, this is the meat. If you guys want to get to the meat of the differentiators of great loan officers and average and weak, it is 100% what we're talking about right now. It is literally what is the meat of the meeting and what is your plan in the meeting to make the meeting meaningful. Because otherwise, it's just another effing LO realtor meeting that goes nowhere. I've had thousands of them. So how do you structure it, David? Because your thing is, man, I'm in a new market. I want to figure it out. I'm dancing around and I'm trying to figure it out. And so the idea of, ooh, an internet studio sounds cool to do social media. These products that keep coming in on our email. Okay, those are cool. I can talk about them. Hey, their struggle. What are they challenged with? Okay, now what? Is there anything else that you can think of? Is there anything else you can think of that is like, okay, this is something that I would like to help the realtors with that you want to do? Any other angle?
I'm struggling with the right answer here, but
there's no right answer. It's like, is there anything else you'd want to do? It could be, hey man, I just want to have a happy hour every Thursday night and invite realtors and drink with them.
Right.
Like, hey, I'm a member of a really nice golf club. I just want to take a realtor golfing once a week, a new realtor. I mean, this is not rocket science.
Yeah.
Some of this shit is basic.
Right. And that's the happy hour and the golf and that kind of stuff that's the social part that's easy, I think, at least for, for most of us, probably that's the easy part. It's when you don't have that relationship yet with the person, that they don't maybe even know you. You might have been referred by somebody else, whatever the connection is. But how do you get from that, that initial conversation to where, hey, yeah, let's go grab a drink because you're a fun guy. I like to talk to you, beyond just the business aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the buttons that need to be explored and pushed. And it's difficult because, like, everybody's a little different.
For sure.
And that's the struggle. All right. Who else wants to volunteer what they're
going to say? Sam's had his virtual hand raised for a while.
I just want to give you guys a planning tip, Brendan, if you'll allow me.
Sure.
Tanya, I'm not picking on you. I think you've done a great job establishing your business. It's December, and the obvious thing is planning. And when we plan, we want to know what it's going to take to get our business to a specific point, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes it feels like blowing into the wind. There's something, I was talking to Tony Fergali yesterday, and Tony in our group, Tony had a better 2023 than 2022. And not a lot of people can say that. And I was talking to Tony, and I forget that people forget, but Tanya, as a person who's new, who's done a good job, if you want to know what it's going to take to get your business to a certain level in the following years, there's something called the rule of 72s. So Tony and I were sitting, and he said he wants to increase his business 25% next year. And I said to him, well, do you know that if you increase your business 25% next year, if you do that every year for 3 years, you're going to double your business? And he looked at me like I was crazy, but I actually showed it to him. And this is true, guys. So if you're trying to plan and you're trying to know where you want to get, and Amy, you did 40 loans in 2023, you want to double your business, you take 72 divided by 25%, right? That's what Tony wanted to grow his business. 72 by 25 is roughly 3. I promise you guys, you could do this on any calculator. If you grow your business 25% a year, you'll double your business every 3 years. Tanya, if you said to me, I want to, double my business in 9 years, I would take 72 and divide that by 9 and know that I need to grow my business 8% every year. If David said to me, hey, I want to grow my business every 4 years, 72 divided by 4 is 18. That means that David needs to grow his business 18% every year. So Tony and I sat and we were talking about it. And we looked at Tony's business, where it came from. It was about 60 loans, give or take. The exact number isn't as important as the why. He has one real estate account that he closed 38 loans from, right? He's probably not going to grow that one account 25% because there isn't 25% more to grow. So what we decided with Tony when we looked at that is we said, hey, what you need to do is add 4 new realtors, and that'll help you grow your business 25% that way. So it is December. Hopefully you guys have your plan. But Tanya, you're very young in this business. If you want to be retired at the age of 65 after having done X, the rule of 72s is an awesome rule of thumb to use to guide the growth of your business however much. And once you break it down to that, you could look and say, hey, the thing that's great about Tony is he knew 38 deals came from here, 4 deals came from here, 8 deals came from here. And once he knew how much he wants to grow, you now have a roadmap. And then again, you can't separate that from what Jesse talked about, what Brendan talked about. I was an account executive. My job was a milk route where I dropped off my rate sheets. Every day I had a different place where I go. You've got to show up every single day, one way or the other. And Brendan talked about this, is consistency. You've got to be consistent. If you show up and you're consistent, the business is going to find you. I promise. So from my perspective, if the rule of 72s helps any of you get to a goal next year or over the next 3 years or over the next 5, then it was worth speaking and waiting patiently with my hand to see Brendan in his gorgeous sweater.
Yeah.
Wise words.
Well, it ultimately it does boil down to skill, because you can sit here and say I want to bench 400 pounds, but at some point you've got to go through pain, you've got to go through injury, you've got to go through wanting to quit and all the shit. So I think the David dilemma and the Jesse dilemma, and for the rest of us on the call that have the same, hey, I want to go after new realtors or new business people, all of it does boil down to you can shorten the time by being highly skilled and asking the right questions and being able to listen. And so over time, I've found that the best of the best just have, they got better closing skills. They got better listening skills. They've got more oomph in their request, and they get to that realtor faster than we do. They're better closers. Somehow what they do appeals more to that realtor. And by the way, every realtor's different. Every realtor's different. So the good news is you've got a style that works with some of them. Can you adapt your style to work with more of them?
Or
and if
find
you can,
more that work.
Yeah. If you can, you will. If not, you won't. And the funny part is like some of the most successful loan officers in our town with realtors, I mean, they've got very polarizing personalities. Like, they're like, oh my God, how does that guy get so much business? He's an asshole. Yeah. And 11 alpha female top producing realtors love him because he's a total asshole. His name is Pete Zaft. He does $20 million a month. He kicks all of our asses, and he's a jerk. Oh my God, how would anybody work with him? Well, guess what? Listen to his realtor meetings, and you'll be like, I would never say that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's why you do $15 million a year. You're too nice. You want to kiss all your realtor asses. He just tells them to go shove it and get him better deals. How does he get away with that? He's an asshole. Somewhere, guys, that guy has tons of loan closing skill. And when the client calls, he gets the deals closed. That's why Pete Zaft does 100 to 200 million a year. So everybody has a Pete Zaft in their town. By the way, I think there's more successful female loan officers than male loan officers, in my opinion. I think you guys have an advantage. That's not a sexist comment. I just think powerful women can dominate this industry. And some of my favorite people in the industry are these women that just dominate markets, and they have like all female teams and they crush. And I love it. You ladies are hard to beat. So I don't think our industry.
To form the Mean Girls Club.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I don't think our industry is male dominated or female dominated, like as an advantage, is my point. Because I think I've seen so many successful versions of both, but when you're at the top, that super awesome female loan officer or male, they're polarizing. You either love them or you hate them. They're not people. They're like aggressive in some way, shape, form. So if you want to be that one day, understand, let more of you out in those meetings with those realtors. Be real. Don't be fake. And if they like, oh my God, you're a breath of fresh air because you're not like every other loan officer, then maybe that's the way to do it. You know, let the real you out and don't make apologies and say, hey, here's what I'm really good at and here's what I suck at. And what I suck at, I have 2 assistants and they do way better than me. So call them when you need that. The end. All right, it is 9:23. We went a little bit over. A couple people got to share. Not everybody got to share, but I think that's as the plight of the loan officer goes. We're always worried about our realtor relationships and building those partnerships because I think in the end, that is how we make the most money and get the most leads. There are other ways to get it, but we didn't focus on that. Sam gave us a good formula. Anybody else have a nugget? Benton going to keep us up to speed with this realtor badass studio that we've embarked upon.
Yeah.
Any other wide nuggets to close out? Aaron, Justin, anybody? McCain? No, we're all good.
All good.
Well, have a great and safe New Year's. Thanks for being on the call. Next Friday will be our loan officer. It'll be our loan officer academy or the Smart Start. And that's all I got. I'll have a haircut too.
Cool.
A little further along. Sam, thank you. Thanks everybody. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Bye.